and welcome to our second edition of Guitar Tales. I'm thrilled we're back. I'm thrilled with our dear friends at Riverview Studios, riverviewstudios.com. I thank our dear friend of the show, Scott Guitarmacist Engel, who helped line us up with our fabulous guest, Big Daddy Abel.
Thanks, Scott.
Of the Amish Outlaws. And I got the name wrong before. I want to make sure I get it right. Nick Chavez gave us our fantastic logo, which is new from last week. We didn't have that. We are absolutely thrilled to be back. We have more shows lined up, but let's dig right into it with Big Daddy Abel. There's so much to talk about, and we were careful in the pre-interview. I didn't want to learn too much, okay? I got yelled at by my friend Todd from LA. He said we didn't have music early enough in the last show. So whenever you feel the need to pick up your Martin or your Fender, feel free.
Okay.
But Scott did it, Scott Engel did it 9 minutes in. Apparently that was too long.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right.
I'll get some awkward about this. So, let's talk about you a little bit. Your history, let's do the short version, and then we're going to do the long version. Oh. You've been in movies, I think.
Yeah, I did that for about 4 years, movies, TV shows.
All right.
That was just to pay the rent.
Okay. Well, what movies did you pay the rent with?
Gosh, the first one that I worked on was just, like extra work, background stuff.
Right.
Shaft, the original Sam Jackson Shaft.
Oh, really?
It was a remake, but
that's still older than the more recent one.
Yeah, it is. And then
Right.
we just actually went to the movies the other night and saw that they're having another Shaft where his son comes back. And,
Oh, really?
I primarily worked on a show called Oz. It was a HBO show.
I know it well. Yeah.
Prison show. They moved me around. I was a biker inmate. I was one of the Christian inmates, and I was kind of like not a featured guy, but a regular, inmate.
Yeah, I have to go back to those because that was a really well done show.
It was a lot of fun to work on, but it was disturbing to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Because Tom Fontana really wanted to depict life inside prison.
Right, the realities. It was extraordinarily violent.
Yeah.
And characters you grew to care about were harmed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But then also, the fact that he set a modern sort of setting like a Greek tragedy, where
Right.
he had the narrator and the chorus and,
Yeah, you had you cared about the guards. You cared about the meanest of the inmates. The storyline, I remember there was the religious gentleman. I mean, there were a few religious people.
You're talking about Luke Perry?
Oh, I forgot about it.
Luke
Right.
Perry was on there.
I forgot.
Nicest guy on the planet. I was actually genuinely, when you hear a celebrity passes away and you go, oh, isn't that sad? And you think maybe your childhood or some better times.
There's a connection that you draw from it. Yeah.
But the guy, he wasn't a Hollywood guy. It was just like the first day that he was there, he walked right in and goes, hey, how you doing? I'm Luke.
Right.
And I went, hi. Yeah, we know who you are.
Right.
But he was always a nice guy. And he was the religious preacher, I think it was.
I think it was.
I got to go back.
I remember when he started on the show, I thought, all right, how are they going to write him in to mix it up with the tougher guys? But he's a strong actor, and you believe it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, we had, there were some scary-looking guys on there. It was a guy by the name of Mikey Izratsky. He was the guy with the tomahawks tattooed on his cheek.
Oh, my God.
He was tattooed head to toe.
Right. Back when people weren't tattooed head to toe.
Oh, no, not on the face,
right,
not at all. And he was a scary-looking guy, and he was a vegan.
Oh, really?
He would take his guitar to the elderly home and play every weekend for them. And, it was just another example of don't judge a book by its cover.
Well, you're an example of that, So I've been telling you.
I don't always dress like this.
That's not what I heard, no. but I was telling people, so I don't know you. We just met tonight.
Yeah.
And Scott told me a little bit about you, and he said you're a super nice guy, but he also said the guy is 6'7". Yeah. And when I talked to you on the phone, you were soft-spoken. Like the whole vibe, and I think it happens when people have the confidence of maybe being a big dude, they don't feel the need to act otherwise.
There's a lot of times, and every big guy will agree with me on this. It's like, sometimes you'll walk into a bar,
right,
and for whatever reason, a guy that's not as tall,
right,
he's angry about whatever he's angry about.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had times where guys have bumped me. You think you're big and bad? No, you think I'm big and bad.
Right.
I'm just waiting for my beer, or my drink, whatever.
Right.
You want one? Let me get you one.
Right.
But I mean, I get I get away with a lot in this outfit.
Oh, I bet.
You know,
I
I mean,
bet.
I can be silly. I can do sort of Don Rickles sort of stuff. Go Google Don Rickles.
For the younger people.
Yeah, for the younger
It's an
people
old
that
crowd
don't
watching us.
understand.
You're okay.
Oh yeah, by the way, he's not PC, and you probably would report him these days.
Yeah, he wasn't. Now let's move. Let's talk. So
Okay.
you did these movies, right?
Yeah.
Hold on for a second. Sorry, we're going to fix something.
And welcome back to Guitar Tales. I'm Dave Cohn with Big Daddy Abel. There we go. So we were talking before, and when we were off air for a few minutes, for some reason my brain categorized your HBO work as movies, and you reminded me, no, that's television. But you did more conventional television also. What did you do there?
Oh, well, I worked on.
Yeah,
Everybody's going to hate me. My least favorite show, Law and Order.
Why is that your least favorite show?
I don't know. Probably because at my house I hear duh 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 24 hours a day, and it makes me nuts.
Right,
And
right,
that.
Right. That's how they segue from scene to scene on the show.
Yeah, but I mean, the first time that I ever worked on anything, it was a Law and Order episode,
Okay.
and it was in Harlem.
Okay. Were you like bad guy number 4 or something like
I was Thing walking in the background across the street down the block, so that you don't see anything blocking Chris Maloney's head. So
that's funny.
it was terrible, honestly. I mean, it was like, you know, here you go. Oh, I'm going to be on a TV show.
that? Right.
And then a few weeks later, I got the paycheck. And it was like $23. I went, wait a minute, I worked for 10 hours. And it was $46 for paying a non-union background person.
Right.
And then they took money for
Taxes.
taxes. Yeah, but there was an agency that placed
Oh,
you,
they
so
take
they
a
took their
piece.
cut. They took
the
a
vig.
piece. Yeah.
Right.
You took $4.60 from me, as well as the other.
Oh, I beat you. I think I made $40. Remember George Hamilton's version of George Washington, the miniseries? I was a Hessian soldier in that,
Well done.
except I made the cutting room floor. So I had my parents videotape all, whatever it was, 12 hours of it. I watched the entire show and fast forward, looking for what I thought was my scene where I died. And what I remember is I had like the glue from the beard going into my mouth. It was about 95 degrees. I had all sorts of heavy clothing on. And I had to dive when there was a bomb. And I had my hand fall on my helmet like this. I did it on purpose. And I moved my finger around so I'd be able to identify myself in the movie. Except I'm sure somewhere in some editing room, someone's like, who's the asshole who's shaking his finger?
That guy's finger's moving. Cut it.
Yeah, so I never was on television.
You told your parents before you ever came out?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I made that mistake a couple times. Like, I did some soap operas, and like Guiding Light was
Okay.
one. And
Also no tapes.
well, the way that it lined up,
Right.
and they shoot very differently. So the way that it lined up was that it was supposed to be on a Tuesday. It should have aired on a Tuesday, but for whatever reason, it didn't. I had told everyone, I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be on Tuesday, and blah, blah, blah. And I had an under 5, and it was, you know, my face, this guy's face, and the girl's
What does an under
face.
5 mean?
Under 5 means that you have literally less than 5 lines. For whatever reason,
It's a union rule, I guess, right?
Yeah, and at that time, I ended up in the union after
So you
that.
got your SAG card because of that?
No, I got my SAG card because of Oz.
Okay.
But on the Guiding Light and As the World Turns, that stuff is AFTRA. So I
Okay.
got to get both cards.
Okay.
But when you get an under 5, you are literally working as a paid union actor that day. So it was like,
So that's huge.
I got $500 for 90 seconds of work. It took
Right.
me longer to get to the place
Right,
and
right.
get back. They gave me a dressing room the size of Montana, and I got in there and
Really?
was like, all right, this
Nope.
doesn't stink.
What kind of character were you?
I was a hippie. I was
Okay.
hippie number 1 or whatever. And the girl that was the regular actress, I don't even remember her name, little
Okay.
tiny brunette about the size of Monica. Monica is the girl that's running the camera that you're looking at from me behind now.
By the way,
Okay.
we have to put a picture, when we edit it, we have to put a picture up because when you guys met, Monica had this look of surprise on her face.
There's a, yeah. Oh, and by the way, not to leave out, Jamie's back over here. So
That's
I'm
right.
sure you do it in the credits, but I like to let everybody know. Anyway, so this lady, she was
Nice
lunatic.
job bringing us back.
I see. I always bring it back around.
Good work. All right.
You got to tie up the loose ends and then get rid of the bodies. So always carry shovel and a bag of lime. She had.
You 2 bags of lime. If we had to get rid of you.
If you do it properly, like they say in that movie Snatch, where you like
Right.
take the limbs, and I think we're going down the wrong way.
Okay.
We're gonna have to put a disclaimer on this. No bodies were actually harmed in the making of this video. So she had tied up her husband, put him in a cabin, impregnated herself while he was unconscious. Then she wanted to escape, and we picked her up hitchhiking.
So that's the storyline.
And she's going to a commune with us. Real sweet commune.
Wow.
We got into this Volkswagen Bug, which was kind of in a room about the size of this.
Right.
And they had it up on jacks. So they called us to the set, and we got into this old hippie Volkswagen Bug.
Right.
And they were,
Oh, to simulate movement.
yeah, they had sticks and boards making it move
Right.
a little bit. And yeah, okay. She gets in. She's like, "You want to run it?" Okay, we run it. And we didn't get mic'd up. We didn't get ready. We ran through it 3 times, and then we said, "Okay, we're ready." Yeah, we got it. Okay. Yeah, let's go to lunch, everybody.
So you were
90
taped, you
seconds.
didn't know you were being taped. So they did it without miking you because I guess the ambient sound worked. Or they wanted
They
it to
had the
sound
mics
road-like.
all inside of the
Oh, really?
dashboard, which they had flowers and grass and
That's the
stuff
best
on
way
it.
to do it because you had an organic scene. You didn't even know you were doing the real version of it.
Yeah, no, we had no idea.
And those are live on tape, so I would imagine that those kind of shows, they just want to get it done because the next day they got to film the next one,
They're
right?
war horses. I mean, well, it's funny. And are there any of those still on yet? I don't remember.
I don't know.
Anyway, but Guiding Light, we did another episode of it. So now Oz is not taping, recording.
Okay.
And we're between seasons 5 and 6, I think. I don't know. This was back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, so I don't
Okay.
remember. Now, the guy that I told you about before with the tomahawks on his cheek,
Right.
he's there. A couple of the other guys that are thugs were playing thugs at this bar.
Right.
And then finally,
At a bar on Guiding Light or at
on Guiding Light.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
sorry.
those guys, there's crossover between the shows.
Well, they needed, there was no cross, it wasn't intentional.
Right,
It was
right.
just, they had 5 people that worked on Oz that weren't working.
Were you the conduit? Is that how they found them? Or did they just randomly find the same people?
They go to the same
the
same
agency?
agencies like
Okay.
to get people and stuff.
Right.
But they always want to get somebody that they know isn't going to like harass an actor.
Right.
I mean, I was in this proximity with Sam Jackson for a lot of that
Right.
Shaft movie, but it's just like, you do that thing. Oh, that's Sam Jackson right there. But you
That's
try to
amazing.
control yourself.
Yeah.
He's just a regular person like anybody else,
Right.
But you're looking and you're just like, oh, that's the guy right there.
Yeah, he's iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That reminds me, actually, I was working on there was a movie Robert De Niro did called City by the Sea.
Oh, that
His
sounds
son
familiar.
was a drug addict and he was trying to clean him up. And his son is the guy that played his son was famous, but anyway. But there was a production assistant. And it's like 2 a.m. on, I don't know, it's in Alphabet City in Manhattan. And we're getting ready to do this scene. It's a night scene. And the PA comes over and says, yeah, don't stand next to Mr. De Niro.
Oh, I know why.
Oh, okay.
Because he's a little guy.
Well, they're using me to wipe the screen, which means, sometimes something will cross in front of the screen,
Just
like
to
a
create
car or a
movement
truck.
or whatever. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
just to, so there's a transition, right? So kind of like the picture that you showed of Monica and I standing there, it was just like my body went by. So
Right.
actually, she's probably a little bit taller than him, I think, maybe. I don't know. But I got too close to him and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I'm like, "Oh, that's Robert De Niro."
Right. Yeah.
And he goes, "Why? What's the matter?" And I said, "They told me don't stand there. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." Who told you that?
Now you're like, I'm going to get that person in trouble.
Yeah, I'm looking around and it's like, I don't see him anywhere. I'm sorry. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go.
That's a bad position to be in. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm still, you don't want to ever, there's so much, you don't want to upset anybody because you're not going to work again.
Right.
You know? And I'm trying to weasel my way in there because I wanted to try to get my music into on the soundtracks and things like
All
that.
right. Yeah.
But, so anyway, back to the Guiding Light thing where all the Oz guys are there.
You're at a bar, playing thugs
We're
at a bar.
We're actually at a wharf dock sort of dingy thing, and these
Yeah.
2 girls are playing. They're trying to play prostitutes, trying to find some information. They're looking for a guy. And if you remember Oz, the Nazis, the second in charge. I can't remember his name. You're gonna make me. I'll have to. Even if you held a gun to my girl's head, I wouldn't know. But he's like the lead thug, and we're just kind of there. So one of the girls is, we're on a break, and we're holding, and they're looking around, and she looks up, she's talking to the guys in the bush, she goes, "Are we getting taken over by Oz? What's going on here? Do I got to get somebody on the phone?" Like she was the one, she watched Oz and recognized everybody there.
That's pretty cool.
But it was like literally 6 guys in there that, it looked like
That's
you
very
stumbled
funny.
into us before we went to jail.
Right. Oh, that's very funny. So you've got in your history now. Again, we literally could do 3 hours because I know you wrote a book. You
I'm
write
not doing
music.
3 hours dressed like this.
Okay. Well, we're gonna get you changed eventually. But let's do our segue now.
All right.
So let's talk about the Amish Outlaws.
Okay.
All right.
Amish to you.
Oh, you got me so confused. All right. So yeah,
I don't know. Everybody calls it something different.
it's spelled Amish, but it's Amish.
It's spelled Amish.
Amish.
I am Amish, right? I don't know.
Now I'm even more
What
confused.
do I know?
You've got an outfit on.
Yes,
So
sir.
you are not one of, there's.
I'm not one of the originals.
You're
no.
not one of the, so there's.
And I'm not Amish.
Right.
I'm a honorary, as they call it.
Right. So there's 3 guys from Lancaster, or if you're out there, Lancaster.
Well, there's some people call it Lancaster, and I go, well, it's spelled with A's, so I don't know why you're calling it Lancaster, but it's Lancaster if you look at it.
That's what I'd call it. So you got 3 guys from there, and you guys put together this band.
Yeah.
You've been there since '97 or something?
No, they've been together for 15 plus years. I've been there since 2007, December
All
2007.
right, so you're 12 years in. That's
Yeah,
still a
yeah.
lot.
I'm on the upside, but there were 4. Now there's 3, and the bass player Easy, the keyboard player Amos, and the other singer Hezekiah, they are from out there.
And they're legit. I mean, like a name like Hezekiah is not a conventional.
Well, I'm sure there's people naming their kid that, but you know,
Right.
I haven't met too many. And then the drummer Jacob, he is a New York native living in Jersey. I'm a New Jersey native living in New York. And the newest addition is the guitar player Wyclef. He's in, I think he's outside of Philadelphia, kind of like southeast-ish of that.
So now where do you guys play?
Well, from Rhode Island down to West Virginia currently, and everything in between. A bunch of casinos, Borgata, Harrah's, Twin River up in Rhode Island, Hollywood Casino, and I think it's out in Hershey. They're all over the place.
Right.
You know, there's times when people ask me, where do you play? I said, just go to AmishOutlaws.com, because I honestly don't know where the next one is, because, you know, you don't check until it's time to check.
Right.
You know, I'm worried about what's coming up right now. And then when you ask me while we're in the middle of what's right now, I don't know what's next until I'm done with right now.
So you don't necessarily know, if I were to say to you, where will you be next, or 2 Thursdays from now? Do you know off the top of your head?
No. I know where I'm this Thursday.
Right, but
No,
beyond that window.
I'm actually, this Thursday, I'm nowhere.
Okay, that's a good thing. Or
This-
it's not a good thing.
Well, no, because we're doing show Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we're going to Maryland this Friday, Saturday, and then Martell's for Cinco de Mayo.
And
2019.
Martell's is in Point Pleasant.
Point Pleasant. Yeah.
Okay.
Down
So
by
let's
the
let's
water.
do this. We'll probably air, taping right now, we are April 29th. We'll probably air in about 2 days. So
Wow.
roughly. So where is the next gig you have after, say, Cinco de Mayo? Or sorry, May 1st instead. Let's start there.
Well, May 1st is Wednesday, no?
Right.
Okay.
So
Nothing there. May 1st, May 2nd, May 3rd
3rd is Friday.
is Friday. So that's going to be at a place called Looney's. There are 4 Looney's locations in Maryland. There's a big, big pub place.
Right.
There's one in Maple Lawn. There's one in Bel Air. There's one in Perry Hall. There's one in Canton, I think, is the other one. We don't play at that one, but we're at the one in South, which is almost by DC.
Okay.
And then on Saturday, we're at the one in Bel Air, Maryland, which is northeastern Maryland, and then come back up. Last week, we were out in Harrisburg at a place called Club XL.
Okay.
Beautiful, like state-of-the-art, great place to see bands. Like what you would have wished clubs would have been a long time ago.
Right.
You know, not just, horrible carpeting and just nasty walls and clean bathrooms.
Size of stage we talked about
Oh,
before.
the stage was gigantic.
That's good.
over there.
Now, So who does all the organization for you? I mean, do you do it? Do you have a manager who?
You mean that gets the gigs?
Yeah.
Oh, they're called Shore Bets.
Okay.
Al and Zach and Justin and Chris, they work there. They're in Jersey. Shore Bets, entertainment, events. That's it.
So because this is something I know nothing of. So you'll work through like a.
They're the booking agency.
So that's all right. So that's even something. So if you're a busy working musician and you're what I would call a regional band, if not a national band, something like that.
Regional, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll
We're
work with.
going to Vegas in July.
All right. So then you're a national band, but you'll have a booking agent, and then you'll probably get emails or this is your schedule and things like that. It's a world I know nothing of.
Yeah. It's nice when you know what's going on instead of wondering what's happening. So like each week they'll say, here's what you're doing this week.
Right.
And then they'll give you what's coming up next week. So
Now, are you guys at the point, because you play so much, do you need to have practices or are your gigs your practices?
no, yes. We don't practice
Okay.
until we're learning new songs. And we
Oh,
do
that makes
that like
sense.
once every 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay.
And then we'll add new ones in because, where we play is, 70, 80 places, and you play those places in the time frame of, 12 to 14 weeks.
Wow.
So as you're coming through, you're overturning new songs with, some old ones that you haven't done in a while, some that you've done there too many times, and you just go, well, nobody's really into this one anymore. Get rid of that, replace that with this, and it's back and forth. It's cover stuff. I always say it's everything that makes girls dance.
Because generally, guys don't like to dance as much.
We don't look like Bon Jovi, but girls like to dance. So you play stuff that makes girls dance, which is, not true because we do rap, rock, R&B, hip hop, classic rock, alternative, everything.
You do it all.
Not Gregorian chant, but yeah.
All right, I like
There's
that.
even an operatic music in
Really?
there.
Now, you gave me a segue. We're going to, completely out of order.
All right.
6 Degrees of John Bon Jovi. You mentioned his name. I'm going to hit you with it now. So you're a
6
Jersey
degrees.
guy. How many
Okay.
degrees will it take to get you there?
I can get there. Do we count John as one, or do we
No.
count the person removed from John one?
Person removed is 1.
And then me is 2?
Yes.
So I can get there in 2 steps.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay, so there is a drummer by the name of Charlie Mills. So whoever forwards this over to Charlie Mills, Charlie, I'm sorry. Charlie grew up in a town called Sayreville,
Okay.
and his house was here.
Okay.
John Bon Jovi's house was there,
Okay.
and a guy by the name of Dave Sabo, who is the guitar player in Skid Row, was over here.
Okay.
Charlie was John's original drummer in the Atlantic City Expressway, which, who else was in that? Dave, the keyboard player, Dave
He
Bryan.
became
was
a
in it.
real estate agent.
Dave did?
The drummer. I've met him.
Who? Who's the drummer then?
No, the one you're telling me about. I met a guy many years ago who was apparently John Bon Jovi's original drummer.
Okay.
And I was told that he became a real estate agent.
Well, Charlie's not a real estate agent. Charlie still plays drums.
A guy from Jamesburg, so maybe there was another earlier drummer before Tico.
Oh yeah, I mean that stuff is they.
So they went through a lot.
Yeah, I can go in through. I can go through the original bass player too.
Oh, let's hear. All right, so
Okay, so it's John. Alec was the original bass player.
Okay.
When they first hit with the
Playing-
first Bon Jovi.
playing a club in A in Saraville, right?
Yeah. So he, I don't know, dated.
Okay.
I guess a girl that was a bridesmaid in my brother's wedding. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So
All right,
I
you
can
made
get
it
there in
within
2.
6.
I can get there in 5. I
Right.
can get there probably in every single angle to
I
get
bet,
to
yeah.
him. But
Well, that's pretty cool.
I think it's funny that you're in Jersey and somehow, some way, you might not know it,
Everyone's
but you're
got it.
6 steps removed from knowing John.
Everyone's got to have it. Everyone's got to have it in Jersey. So you, all right. So, now I'm all confused. It's your fault. Amish Outlaws.
Yeah.
Amish Outlaws. So
Yeah.
let's talk about the theme.
Okay.
All right, because we sort of glossed over that.
All right.
You guys do covers. You play regionally. You'll go out to the West Coast. You'll hit Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
What's, for lack of a better term, what's the deal with the concept of the Amish Outlaws as opposed to, Foresight cover band or some generic name like that? What's the theme?
Well, if you think about, some people don't know much about Amish life at all. There's a community you know, they're religious, they're simple people. They don't take any modern comfort, you know. And they have a thing called Rumspringa, which is go out into the world for a year and then come back and see if you want to stay with us. If you want to stay with us, you're going to go by our rules or, you know, the shunning. Right. Well, those guys went out on Rumspringa and air conditioning's nice. They like music.
Sleeping past 5 a.m. I would think is nice.
Dancing, girls, electricity, all of those things, you know, the devil's playground, right?
Right.
So, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to go back for that, you know.
And yet so many people do, I guess.
Well,
Yeah.
and if you figure you're Amish, you're playing modern music with electricity in an air conditioning room, drinking, partying, you're an outlaw to the Amish way.
It's perfect.
So, the Amish Outlaws.
And then when that started, you know, and there's the irony to it because you guys dressed the part. I know some point tonight we're going to do a costume change for you.
Oh, well.
If you want.
Yeah.
Okay. But is there something for the audience about watching guys dressed like that but playing rock, playing rap, playing pop, whatever you're playing? You think that's part of the allure?
When I first joined, the band had you know, was known around.
Right.
New York, New Jersey, little into Pennsylvania, a couple spots in Maryland. And obviously, when I first putting this on, I'm just like, oh, this is not cool. This is not rock and roll.
Right.
Because that's what I was. You know, I was playing rock bands and stuff. And you put it on, and obviously somebody's gonna,
What's that about?
you know, start picking up the kids and moving away because there's a fascination to it.
Yeah.
People go out to Lancaster County just so they can see the buggies rolling by because it's just a weird thing to them. It's not weird to these people.
Right.
By the way, don't take pictures of them. They don't like that. It's kind of rude, actually, if you think about it. You know?
Yeah.
But that whole oddity, what is it? It's like looking at a platypus. You're like, what the heck is that, and how did it get to this point
That's a
in
good
life?
metaphor, yeah.
But there are times when we'll play somewhere. I'm not even thinking about what I'm wearing. You know, we're done, and somebody's just kind of. And you can see it. You know when somebody's they go,
Right,
and they
because
look and they.
because you've got the ponytail going on, so it's not like you've got this short cropped, you know, sort of conservative haircut. You could be a big dude dressed like that, and they might think, all right, he's just Amish. But then they're like, what's happening there?
They usually think I'm the Amish one. I'm like, I'm not. Those guys are. Somebody come up and say, you know, well, I grew up in Lancaster. I'm like, I'm from Jersey.
Right.
Talk to that one over there. The other ponytail guy, go talk to him. He knows all about it.
Oh, that's funny. So now I know right now, these days, for the last X number of years, you've been the lead singer, but you started as a guitar player for the band.
Yeah, I used to play guitar in the band, and I had one of those big old mothership boards that had a GT8 on it, if anybody's familiar with that, the unified pedal board.
I had one of those ones.
And,
at Russo Music, I got it right around here.
Well, I got my first guitar, actually, it's sitting over there, at Russo Music.
Right.
My Kramer Focus 3000, back when Eddie Van Halen.
Right, he endorsed it.
Yeah, that was, I got my first one in 84, 85, I think.
Okay.
But Eddie was why I picked up a guitar in the first place.
Right.
Which is, there's a lot of guys that did that.
Well, there's the story that when he would play, I guess, the whiskey, that he would have to have his back to the crowd because he didn't want them to copy it because there would be guitar slingers in the crowd. So when he's hammering, which people have done similar things, but they hadn't really done that, he had to play with his back to the crowd so people wouldn't steal his chops.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen that.
Oh my God. I've read it. I have seen them. I saw them with David Lee Roth. I haven't seen them.
I saw them
with Sammy, not David.
No, but I mean, when you're talking about like
that would
being
be
there,
amazing.
present in that moment at
my
like,
God.
I don't know, was it Gazara's or somebody like that, you know, and you just go, who's this guy? What is?
Yeah, history's treating him pretty well, I think, in terms of being like a legit innovator.
Oh yeah, I mean, no one was thinking of doing. Well, maybe there's always some great unknown.
Right. Someone who probably hammered without commercial success.
Yeah.
And all the other great things he did.
Yeah.
But, you know, I watched the other day, somebody was putting on, maybe it was Eruption, because Scott and I have been talking about that a lot recently, but they put some live thing on YouTube, some, you know, very self-indulgent 12, 14-minute solo Which is-
Nobody cares anymore. No one does.
No.
Oh, you sat in your room and you played your guitar. Oh, good for you. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. No, that's what Scott and I talked about, is that no one cares about it. But there was a time when we would go to a concert. That's right. I saw them with Sammy, but I'm sure, I don't remember, but I'm sure he did a 10-minute solo at some point. You know?
I went to go see them with Sammy. I never saw them with Dave.
No, I didn't
And it was at the Philadelphia Spectrum. I was in that back
Right.
quadrant back there, if anybody remembers the Philadelphia Spectrum, and everybody, it was time for the guitar solo, and he started with that thing called 316.
Right.
And I was standing the whole time, and I got my binoculars, and I'm watching it, and then it would transition into Eruption, and it transitioned into Spanish Fly, and it transitioned into all his little guitar pieces.
Right.
That all of his guitar work up to that point. I went home that night, and I was up until probably 4 or 5 in the morning, learning that first part, because I knew all the rest already.
Oh, so you were already a guitar player when you saw him?
Oh yeah. So when I was 15.
Okay.
Oh, we'll get into that one, right? Because everybody has their "Why did you start playing" thing.